It's the 28th day of the government shutdown. Watch my brilliant video detailing every facet of this calamity. If my concise breakdown of the situation doesn't satisfy you, I do provide refunds, as every piece of work I do has a warranty. If you don't like my video, you get a middle finger. Enjoy the show. The government shutdown continues unabated because the Democrats make unreasonable demand after unreasonable demand. Demanding, for instance, the United States continues to fund transgender awareness, feminist causes, and other progressive claptrap of the type that was eliminated from USAID. They continue to demand that we provide free health care for millions of illegal aliens. They want to continue funding their far-left media companies, and they are determined to continue their crusade to provide billions upon billions of American tax dollars to fund every degenerate perversity known to man. This is an update on the government shutdown, October 28th, 2025. Before we even start the video, do you know what would be awesome? If you guys could give me a like, and if my video withstands the test of time and your attention span, let me get a follow after the video. God bless you. God bless America. Enjoy the show. Chuck Schumer. Republicans are in charge of the White House, the Senate, and the House, but they're refusing to do their job, referring to the government shutdown. 53 Republicans and 2 Democrats voted to continue funding the government. 45 Democrat senators opposed passing the budget. Debunking lies about the Democrat shutdown. Democrat lie number 1. Republicans control all 3 branches of government and don't need Democrats to end the shutdown. The truth. The Senate has a 60-vote threshold and Republicans control just 53 seats. Democrats have voted against reopening the government 12 times. This doesn't look like a 60-vote threshold to me now, does it? Democrat lie number 2. The shutdown isn't over illegal aliens getting health care. The truth. According to Section 2141 of the Democrats' counter-proposal to fund the government, they are demanding a provision that would give illegal aliens access to free health care. And this fact is as clear as the day is sunny. All you have to do is just research the Democrats' own proposed law. Lie number 3. Republicans refuse to open the government and pay our troops. The truth. President Trump took unilateral action to pay our military men and women while Democrats hold the government hostage.
And a friend of mine, talking about donors, a friend of mine, a man that's great, I'm not going to use his name unless he lets me do it. He called us the other day and he said, I'd like to contribute any shortfall you have because of the Democrat shutdown. I'd like to personally contribute any shortfall you have with the military, because I love the military and I love the country, and any shortfall, if there's a shortfall, I'll contribute it. And today he sent us a check for $130 million.
Can you share who that is?
I would love to tell you he doesn't really want the recognition, if you want to know the truth, but he gave us a check for $130 million.
Wow, that's amazing. Thank God for this patriot, and may God bless him, America, and the troops. Speaking of things that go boom, here's Speaker Mike Johnson dropping some truth bombs.
There are simple facts about the Democrat shutdown that everybody needs to recognize. Here's 4 of them. First of all, we have to have Democrats to reopen the government. You know that in the Senate it requires 60 votes to break an impasse. I had my 15-year-old son and some of his friends were together over the weekend, and they wanted me to explain it to them as simply as possible. This is the little formulation, okay? Hey, fellas, remember from civics, you got to have 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans, so we must have Democrats to do it. Now they've voted 13 times, those Senate Democrats, counting the House and the Senate together, they voted 13 times to keep the government closed. And what they're demanding as a ransom to reopen the government are some really crazy things. They want to restore $200 billion in health benefits paid for by U.S. taxpayers to illegal aliens and non-citizens. We can't do that. They want billions of dollars in wasteful programs to be returned to foreign countries for things that none of you would agree with. We're not going to do that. They want $500 million to go back to left-leaning news organizations paid for by taxpayers. We can't do that. And then they want to cut $50 billion from the Rural Hospital Fund that Republicans got signed into law July 4th to prop up health care in red states and rural areas around the country. It's too important, but they want to take that away. They know that we can't do it. And now that they've begun to admit what this is all about, thanks, Lee, put another thing there. They're admitting what they're up to. Chuck Schumer said every day of the shutdown gets better for us, meaning the Democrat Party.
Each day, our case to fix health care and end the shutdown gets better and better, stronger and stronger.
And you know, we had the second-ranked Democrat in the House, the minority whip, who just said a few days ago, the end of last week, that we know that this is causing great pain for the American people, but we have to use this leverage. We don't have many times where we have leverage like this.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, you know, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
And so they've shown you what the real motivation is. But ultimately, why are they doing all that? Let me summarize this really quickly, as simply as I can, for the civic students back home. Republicans are not demanding anything, literally nothing. All we want is to reopen the government. The Democrats are demanding all those things I just showed you on the chart, plus a lot more. When I say they want to send money to foreign countries, this is some of the things that they would propose that we spend money on again. They're demanding, this is a ransom to reopen the government. Things like $4 million for global LGBTQI plus awareness campaigns around the world. $4 million for the LGBTQI plus democracy grants in the Balkans. They want $2 million for feminist democratic principles projects in Africa. We're not doing that. But again, the question is why? Why? This sounds crazy. It is. Why would they do this? And what we saw on vivid display over the weekend was the re-emphasis of this fact. This is motivated purely out of fear. And what do we mean by that? You saw the Democratic leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, endorse Zohran Mamdani for mayor of New York City.
Why are you backing Mamdani in the mayor's race?
Well, he's a Democratic nominee.
Damn, did you feel that energy? He sounds ecstatic in that endorsement. I'm sure his endorsement of Mamdani will convince thousands of New Yorkers to vote in that communist as mayor. But in all seriousness, in addition to Mike Johnson, let's listen to Senator Kennedy break down the situation.
He found that under President Biden, they were spending $3 million for circumcisions and vasectomies in Zambia. We took that out. The Congresswoman says, we're going to shut down government till you put that back in. We found $500,000 of American taxpayer money for electric buses in Rwanda. We found $3.6 million for pastry cooking classes and dance focus groups for male prostitutes in Haiti. I kid you not. I'm not making this up. It was in the budget under President Biden. We took it out. Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez in the socialist wing, the loon wing of the Democratic Party, says we're going to shut down government until you put it back in. I'll just read you a few more that we took out. They are demanding we put back in. $6 million for media organizations for the Palestinians. $833,000 for transgender people in Nepal. $300,000 for a pride parade in Lesotho. $882,000 for social media and mentorship in Serbia. $4.2 million. We took it out. The Congresswoman and the socialist wing of their party says we got to put that back in for the open government. $4.2 million for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and intersex people in the Western Balkans and Uganda. I could spend the rest of the afternoon here. We took all that out.
And when confronted with these insane facts, how does Hakeem Jeffries respond?
Can you just speak to some of the programs that Democrats want funding for in the $1.5 trillion list of demands? We've heard things like $13.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million for LGBTQ democracy grants in the Balkans, things like this. You guys say this is about saving healthcare, but how do these pet projects fit
Yeah, we
in?
have no idea what you're talking about or what Republican extremists fed you those talking points. But the reality is what we are doing is defending the health care of the American people. Yeah, we do want to restore the fact that the largest cut to Medicaid in American history has been visited upon the American people by
And
Donald.
he just blah, 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 blah. Just talks and talks and talks. Didn't or never intended to answer the question. Just more bullshit. All these people know how to do is gaslight, manipulate, and lie. That is all they do. And I, for one, am sick and tired of it.
They have said to our request, let's just continue the status quo for 6 more weeks. They said, we'll give you 6 more weeks if you will give us $1.5 trillion. That's what they're demanding. And that's why we're shut down.
Talking about AOC's leadership in the Democratic Party.
Based on her policy positions, the American people are looking at her and saying, this person has single-handedly put an end to dumb blonde jokes. Because that is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
That is perhaps some of the most shocking news I've ever heard. $1.5 trillion. And I wonder how this is starting to affect the Democrats and the Republicans in the polls. Who is getting blamed for this shutdown?
With Republicans, how has the shutdown seemed to have affected their political standing?
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, that brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, change in the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And Democrats, of course, they have their eyes on the midterm elections. Yeah, we have elections 1 week from today, but what Democrats in Congress are mostly focused on are 1 year and 1 week from today from the midterm. So how are they positioned right now?
Yeah, so I mean, look, the generic congressional ballot, which traditionally Democrats have done really well on, and if you look at this point back when Trump was president the first time around, Democrats are up 11 points. Look at where it is now. Democrats are ahead, but they're actually only up 3 points. This is, in fact, the worst position Democrats have been on in a generic ballot at this point in midterm when there was a Republican president in the last 20 years. And this is no different from pre-shutdown. So Republicans aren't losing on this metric either. They become more popular, and they're actually in a pretty good position for them historically when it comes to the generic congressional ballot.
This is a concerning number for Democrats, are you saying?
This is a concerning number for Democrats because it's considerably worse than they traditionally do in midterm elections when there's a Republican president.
Harry Etten, thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend.